get it on the agenda.
Weird. You think he's a Republican?
Just wait.
You can tell he's a Trump supporter?
I don't think I have to call to order a special meeting, but this is a special meeting today to interview candidates for the Technology Committee. And our first person is Mark Marsico. All right, you can come right up here, sir. I'll tell you how we do this. It's really pretty easy. We have your resume. Welcome. We have your resume that we have looked over. So if you have something to add about that's not in here, or something else, you feel free to do that. And then we just go around the table and we each take turns asking you any questions that we might have.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
The only thing I want to mention, I guess two things. I talked to Mr. Grimm before, I had only a couple of people at the table I recognize, but I talked to you a little bit. You mentioned also being interviewed possibly for the zoning committee.
The zoning hearing board?
Yeah,
because
there's another position that would be available there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention, I am a professional engineer, mechanical engineering, but I am retired and I intend to let that license go. I think it expires in September, so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
As long as you don't let the knowledge go, I think you're still okay.
Okay, well, presenting myself as a PE, but I want to make that clear.
You still are.
Yeah.
So, and I still am.
Okay. Very good.
Unlicensed.
Excuse me?
You would be unlicensed. A
I'll be
PE
unlicensed.
Yeah, a PE unlicensed. Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything you want to add?
Nothing.
Okay, okay. All right, Greg?
The purpose of the Technology Advisory Committee, Mark, is to help develop and recommend policies and programs to the town in order to preserve and enhance aspects of the character of the town and to address technology issues in the town. I've looked at your resume and it's very impressive.
Thank you.
But do you see any specific technology needs that need to be addressed by the town? Any like, for example, Joe Barley, one of the candidates mentioned that 5G phones are coming, the 5G, and there would be need for more cell towers. And he pointed out, do you see anything on the horizon, or do you know anything else you would possibly address or tell us about?
No, the only, when we talked, I'd said that one idea or thought that I had is about the cable line.
Cable?
I pay a $220 cable bill every month, and I'm kind of tired of it. And that's one thing I'd like to see the committee address. There's a lot here that, I think the place to start would be with a system diagram, what's your network look like? What are all the systems that you use? And then start from there. I think until you have it all down on paper, it's hard to even comment on the needs, what we should be looking at.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mark.
No, I remember you from Symbol Corporation. Don't have any questions at this time, though.
In Symbol?
RIDC. You were with Symbol, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, the barcode folks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Handheld computing.
Yep.
Scan.
Yep. Very advanced for the time.
Yeah, for the time.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would also say you have a very impressive resume. My question would be, what in McCandless would you like to change?
What, in McCandless?
Or if anything?
Anything? Anything?
Besides your cable bill.
Besides
Beside the cable, I realize, and I'm unhappy too, but,
Yeah.
so am I.
Well, I'm probably sitting too close to Kim to say this, but I'd have a Walmart. Sorry.
You know what, let's see if we can put one over on Montgomery.
That's right.
Yeah, that would be a good place for it.
It would be.
You're saying you Yeah. would like a
Closer to
Walmart?
that.
Or not a-
He would like a
Like
Walmart.
Throw it
You
out
would
there.
like a Walmart. Just throwing it out there. Okay, all right. Montgomery might be a good Thank spot you. for
Throw it
that.
out there.
It would probably reduce
also
the
be within a mile
Amazon
of the-
traffic in the neighborhood.
Mile of the
Down on that.
park.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
I had a question that was pretty much the same thing that Joan just mentioned, but as you approach this, recognize you haven't been on the committee and haven't even been appointed to it yet, and who knows, but do you a couple of specific things you'd like to see apply your knowledge base to what we're doing?
It's a tough question to answer.
Well, the committee's already informed yet, too.
Yeah,
but that's
it's, we're having trouble envisioning what the committee will do and everything ourselves, so we can understand.
It's because we don't know anything about
Yeah, well,
Or else you wouldn't need a committee.
That's exactly
Well,
right.
it's more than that, it's the time, right? You don't have time to do all these things. You can't do it all yourself.
There's a lot of reasons, yeah. And we have our projector in there that sits on a box, so we can look at pictures that, you know, about our zoning.
And
So-
even then, we still have
And
questions
then we
like
have to
which
lean this
direction,
way
which
so you can
direction is
see
that?
the-
Which way is north?
Yeah.
Which?
Always up.
So I guess I will withdraw the question in that it's premature. Unless you want to answer it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I would, myself, I've got to educate myself. Mr. Grimm mentioned the need for a tour. I do think, you know, I've had a situation like this earlier in my career where we started with a system diagram, and so you had that and knew what your network looked like, knew what systems you had, and then can identify, well, what are the concerns? Rank them somehow based on the risk they present,
mhm.
and then the cost to fix it, and then what can we afford, right? Prioritize it. That's the approach I would take. Now, I don't know. After the first meeting, might say that's completely. I don't know, right now, that's the approach I would take.
And how many years have you lived in McAllis?
I think it'll be 21 in October.
Thank you.
I lived in Hampton before that.
Steve?
I don't have any questions. No.
It's none about my time at Respironics. I heard you mention sleep study.
Nah, nah.
Do you have any suggestions for us, Steve?
You know, I do. When I look at,
Or maybe for all our sleep.
well, no, I've been to, when I worked at Respironics, I went through a sleep study, you know, as part of my clinical education, and it's miserable. One of the, I think, neatest things I worked on was a ambulatory monitor. That technology was very new in the 90s and very controversial. And I helped design and develop a small wearable device that has just 4 channels. It's designed for you to use at home, so it's more you and your environment.
Right.
And I think it gives you a better picture in a way, because like you're saying, you're more comfortable there than in a hospital bed.
So that's what was lighting up in my face the night when I was trying to
It could
sleep?
have been. It could have been. That was one of the biggest complaints we had about it.
The light?
LED lights.
Yep,
right?
that would be my biggest complaint about it. Was it LED light? I do still
Now
think,
you know who to blame.
that's right. I still don't think personally my problem's respiratory. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some, but my problem's,
Do you want to give your health history on YouTube?
sure, why
I
not?
don't know that you really.
Then I
wanna-
can get some lunatic.
You're violating your own HIPAA.
I might have some doctors though.
Yeah.
That's right, somebody might, hey, my arm bothers me when I'm asleep. Can anyone fix that?
Okay. Well, I just want, you're also interested in the zoning hearing board, is that right?
I thought I read that there was an opening.
And there is an opening on the zoning hearing board.
I don't know.
It's an alternate though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, well, of course, yeah, it's an alternate
It's
because
an
the
alternate, it's
three,
an alternate position.
I
But
don't
it's-
know. I'm kind of curious.
but you have to start someplace. I mean, you start as an alternate and then you move up.
Except
'Cause
that's
those-
not, except that's not really how it works, right?
Well,
Because
no, that's
we
right.
talked about that alternates only get elected as alternates, and then if a person comes out, then the alternate doesn't automatically
Re-interview with
move up.
us. Review.
Well,
Right, but if the
Interview with
position
us.
is for an
yeah,
alternate.
they pretty much did, they have in the past. Well, my past is limited, but, they pretty much have.
Sounds like
so-
he's better.
So, okay.
technology board seems better anyhow.
I was looking for something in the resolution, which maybe it was on a different resolution, I don't know. I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. I
Hey, Mary.
appreciate you coming.
Wait.
I have one comment.
You had yours.
I have my chance, but.
He's double dipping again.
And that's what I love about this process. So I
I
loved your
tripled it.
comment about Amazon
Yeah.
traffic. And that's exactly the type of offhand aha moment that you have is suddenly, you just pointed out that this whole idea of the internet and of online sales and moving away from the bricks and mortar, the impact that's having on communities. The other day I was in the neighborhood and for the first time I saw one of those iRobots cutting someone's grass.
Yeah.
And I think this is an exciting time because, but we need to think about it in a forward way to prepare the town as the technology comes at us, the same way the cell phones came at us, and we really weren't prepared to establish community etiquette and rules of use and different things like that. We're catching up with it. We're trying to, through the comprehensive planning process, get in front of some of this stuff, the 5G rollout and things like that. So thanks for that comment. It was just an offhanded one, but it captured the essence, I think, of what we're trying to capture here.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So I've been retired for almost exactly a year, and so when you're home all day, and you see what goes on in the neighborhood, and my wife, you know, the UPS truck was here once already, and we're still hoping it comes one more time before tonight. I was talking to a neighbor last night who called the township, called the police, has called FedEx. The FedEx driver who services Montgomery Road is dangerous. I've called him out personally, one-on-one. You know, so you worry about truck traffic, and I see UPS and FedEx, and the UPS driver's good. And I commended him, and he made the comment, yeah, I have little kids too. So, truck
Just
traffic
wait till
isn't-
it's drones instead.
Well, I'd love to be a drone pilot.
I was gonna thank you, Madam President,
You're
for
welcome.
the comment.
Any other more comments, questions? Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
Okay.
Take care.
Good work.
Marcy Parson. Pearson, excuse me.
That could be me.
Yeah. All right, so I tell everyone the same thing, so I'll tell you again, just even though I know you were here. And that we have your resume here before us. So if there's anything additionally that you would like to add to this, we would, you can do that now, and then we just go around the table and ask our questions.
Sure.
Okay?
There really isn't much to add. I mean, it pretty much summarizes, you know, what I've done. Technology has been my life. In fact, it was my mom's life and my grandmother's life. She started with computers back at working for GM and managing. So it's been kind of interesting that it flows through the female side of our family is where it goes. So it has been. And when I saw the announcement about about the new committee you're trying to put up, you know, to me that sounded very interesting. You know, I retired similar to a little over a year ago. After 34 years at IBM and a lot of different things. It's all been IBM, that and that. But I thought, well, it's time to give back. And that was one of the reasons I left, is I had a lot of worldwide roles and very demanding roles. It gave me no time being a working mother to really get involved in the community. So I don't know any of you, none of you know me. And that's not unusual because I was on the road. I know the folks at the airport a lot. You know, I know all the flights in and out and all the rest of that, but that was. So I've been, you know, for the last year resetting, doing volunteer work and expanding my network here in my hometown. Because I do consider, we've been 24 years now, so I really like the place. We're not done here.
Great, thank you. Great.
Well, I like to say also, Marcy, that it's the purpose of the Technology Advisory Committee is to help develop and recommend policies and programs to the town in order to preserve and enhance aspects of the character of the town and to address technological issues in the town. Do you see any specific, I'll ask the same question I asked him. Do you see any specific technology needs that need to be addressed by the town?
I do not, because similar to what he mentioned is, I don't understand all of what we have and what we have.
Mhm.
But the thing I would say is no matter where you decide or who you put on the committee in moving forward, security should be a very high concern.
Okay.
There are a lot of different technologies out there, there's a lot of interesting things, but knowing what I know about what's happening with the hackers as well as the privacy concerns and considerations, make sure you've got someone, in my perspective, that is, can bring that or knows it or is at least, versed enough to start doing the research.
Yeah.
Because that's what I see many companies, and when I work with the federal government and state and local, some things there, especially for being a community, it's gonna become more and more important.
Mhm.
So that
Okay.
would be that's my suggestion,
Okay, thank you, Marcy.
absolutely.
Marcy, it looks like most of your work at IBM was recently was cloud-based.
It was,
But IBM's really deep into AI right now.
yeah, we are.
And I really see that being an overriding driver in technology application. I also see, with the collaboration talent solutions leader that you were, this committee necessarily has the ability to create ad hoc committees of additional, more specialized scientists and things to look at specific issues in the town. Offhand, can you think of any, outside of the town proper governance, but the town itself, things
Yeah.
like intelligent transportation, signalization, robotics, cable,
There's
data connectivity, things that we should maybe be thinking about forward-looking over the next 10 years, we should try and get in front of.
And I think that's a great question. AI is becoming embedded in a lot of what the new technologies are that are coming out. You have to have the knowledge base for it to learn from. So as you work on this, I see, just as my predecessor mentioned, traffic is increasing. Are there things that we can be doing to help more with the lights and the timing or security concerns? As we talked through some of, you mentioned some of the things about concern about the FedEx driver or what's coming. Those are types of things, and what you don't probably have today is a way to, how do you take individuals, and I understand that FedEx is a corporation, so you can't, but is there a way that the community could potentially start collecting some of these concerns that citizens are raising about other things? Now you've got privacy concerns, that's a sticky wicket to potentially open up, but then could see, okay, yes, we may have a problem with a FedEx driver here, or we may have too many people coming into this neighborhood, and we could potentially work with the vendors to try and, because it's not just UPS, it's FedEx, it's Amazon is doing their own drivers now in the little white trucks that are running around, to try and consolidate because you got everybody hitting it. So to me, that's an area that could be a kind of interesting to dive into, and I'm not sure if other communities are doing it. I was thinking, just as he was mentioning, what do you do about all this, and how do you try and plan in advance to see where things are going to break? And that's would be, there's a lot of technology things, a lot of really gee whiz cool things, but from my perspective is, what is the problem we're trying to solve? So until you know what the problems are or have a view as to where the problems are going to probably generate, you can waste a lot of time looking at technologies. That's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Marcy, that's perfect. What a great aha moment though, online shopping.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
In Foxwood, we don't see that.
Yeah.
Because we're one little,
Yeah.
I love my street. I love my street. We are never leaving our street and our lot. But, so we don't see some of this. But just as he was mentioning, those who are streets and neighborhoods, bigger ones, that I got more traffic and more things coming through, and you got the kids up there, and, not all of our neighborhoods also have sidewalks. So you got to also be careful on some of this stuff too, because you got kids closer in the street, so that just kind of was an aha moment for me. I hadn't really thought about it, but
Good.
And I do think that, and the other thing I would say again, caution whether I'm on the committee or not, is you look at AI, there's a lot of promises. It's a question of, is it true delivery? It's the latest marketing thing. Microsoft is probably doing one of the best at it. IBM is doing very well. Our Watson stuff is good. There's some things that's worked and some things that haven't. So again, it's a matter of making sure you do connections probably out to other towns and communities and really figure out what are they doing.
Some of our autonomous vehicle producers are doing a good job of it too.
Yes, there's a whole,
Over-promising.
there's a
Right.
whole lot of tech, I love technology. I bought a brand new Lexus UX because it's got all the latest gee whiz, and I waited for it because it's got it all. But you gotta be careful when it's real, when it's money that's being going from your constituents, from my pocket.
Good.
That's how
Thanks.
you have to look at it too.
Exactly,
It's
it's
your
my
money,
pocket,
right.
this is our business here
Exactly.
in our home.
That's great perspective.
With all of your knowledge, Marcy, and it's very impressive, are there any specific things that you have in mind that you could bring to the town? If you were on this.
Yeah, great question. I have, from my perspective, and what interests me about this is I have spent, especially recently, in a lot of the newer technologies, the cloud, what we're doing both with human stuff as well as computer things, collaboration. I got to thinking that's probably a lot of the types of things that a town could do. You got your IT infrastructure, what's going on with payroll, that's probably just fine, or you move off to another cloud-based vendor or whatever. But it's thinking ahead really kind of where you're going, and one of the things I got to thinking about is, as I mentioned in my write-up, which was quite short, but that is, I've worked with a ton of businesses and state and local governments as well as federal government on making decisions about technology. And I have seen some make some very good decisions about technology, and then I have seen some that frankly have gone into analysis paralysis, where they've wasted time and money just going through, focusing, and they think, well, what about this? You gotta get to understand your business problem that you're trying to solve. And that's what I would always tell my team is that the problem has to be defined. Don't go sell technology. You gotta fix a business problem. So that's the perspective that I think I bring to this, is it's not just, I've seen good and I've seen bad, and I've got a view and once I would get into it, I don't know, but how I think it should be approached. As
Thank
far
you.
as
I'm very impressed. That's excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Marcy, I see from your resume, obviously can't go into it in depth, but you had apparently led a team of over 1,000 individuals, and
Yeah.
other times 700, 500, or,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people to supervise.
Well, they weren't all direct, and I had
Well, yeah,
folks scattered.
but you were the person
Yeah.
responsible for their
Yeah.
activities down the line.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. How do you think that experience would apply to a relatively small organization like we have in relative terms?
My approach was always very hands-on. I always had an open door. So while I had a very big organization at times scattered across the globe and having to deal with a lot of different personalities as well as traditions and the rest of that, it's all about the individual one-on-one with whomever I was working with. I never was one to sit behind a big desk, with an assistant that had to, you had to reach through her to get to me kind of things. So, and my last teams were small. To me, it was never about the size of the team. It was about the interesting and the importance of what I was doing. So, to be working with an organization where I get to know everyone and just individual, I have no, well, of course I have an ego, but we all do, but it's never was to me about the position or the power. Does that help answer your
Yeah,
question?
well, it does. Now, you mentioned something else that kind of triggered my thought. I may be misquoting you. You indicated that you felt that computer security was an important
Yes,
thing
it
to
is.
focus on, even for us to keep people from selling your whatever they would be selling.
Yes, I
Protect
think,
protect our information.
as well as, yes, protect your, and also protect
People's
your.
privacy.
Yes, that is what I do see, and I think it's an important facet of every decision that you make. Because there are hackers out there, folks out there who are trying to get in and break in. It is what it is, and I don't know how much they're really into the local environments too much, but I could see them getting, and we're a wealthy, fairly wealthy community. I mean, as far as the
ransomware
Yes.
is the big deal.
Yes.
The ransomware.
You've got ransomware issues, and you wanna make sure that whatever decisions, technology decisions you make, you don't open up more doors or open up more holes that could potentially be exploited. So it's just, to me, that's what I see is I wanna make sure, and again, I'm trying to, no matter what you all decide, at least give you all my 2 cents of what I think you should be focused on and use it as you will.
Basically, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you, from my perspective.
Yeah, I have no questions either.
I have no questions either. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you are more than welcome.
Appreciate
I
you
wish you
coming
all
in.
luck with things. Thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I get to go over on the table. Thank you all. I'm good at doing this. Thank you so much.
Jeffrey?
Come on this way.
Jeffrey?
Thank you.
Oh, it's 5 minutes. Thank you.
Are you Jeffrey?
No, I'm Craig.
You're Craig, okay. Craig, you're ahead. Is there anyone out there? No? Anybody out there?
You just walked in.
Okay.
Let's go for 7.
Hi, are you Jeffrey?
Yes.
Say your last name.
Podlogger.
Podlogger, I would not have even been close to that. You come up here, Jeffrey, it's time.
It's all right, we're a little ahead of schedule.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the
Hi,
only
welcome.
one.
Yes.
You're the only one.
So the way we do this is we have your resume here. Nope, we don't have a resume.
It's online.
It's online.
Oh, okay, all right.
I emailed it this morning to Marie.
Okay, all right. If you have something you'd like to add in addition to that, and then what we do is just go around the table and each council member asks you a question if they have one.
Well, I've lived in McCandless most of my life. Grew up around here. I've been working in IT for over 25 years. Never did any sort of volunteer work before, but at the point where I'd like to start getting involved in that. Currently a senior director with Sodexo, which is a very large French company that is in the facilities management business, food service industry. I have about 15 people working for me now. The division that I work in is about 450 employees, and I'm directing the infrastructure, development, application maintenance, help desk, any of those areas, basically handling any IT-related needs.
Greg, do you have a question?
Just a second. The purpose of the Technology Advisory Committee is to help develop and recommend policies and programs to the town in order to preserve and enhance aspects of the character of the town and to address technology issues in the town. Do you see any specific technology needs that need to be addressed by the town?
Not specifically, no. I mean, I do go on the website from time to time. It's probably, it's improved quite a bit
Yeah.
over the years.
Yeah, John Wojcicki, yeah.
You know, and I think things could always be made better, but I don't have any specific criticisms of anything that's happening or anything area that I think it needs improved upon. I just would like to help move it forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Okay, Jeff, so, if I'm reading this right, so this is Roth, the company in Sodexo that you are a part of.
Correct.
One of their key specialties is energy management. So what a great question I have for you, that from a community scale standpoint, ideas or things that you maybe see coming or opportunities that you see coming in the energy management field that maybe forward-thinking communities should be
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them now. Currently, we're deep into the Internet of Things.
Right.
At our facility, our facility's in Youngstown, Ohio, actually, drive out there 3 days a week. But, we are doing that. We control most of the HVAC systems, in Simon Mall, Ross Park Mall, our company controls their HVAC systems, and we manage their energy. And the way we do it is through clever programming of HVAC controllers. We do things such as aggressively cool buildings when energy is cheaper. In the summertime, we manage the climate. We do a lot of work in the retail industries, and the whole goal of it all is to reduce their energy spend. So there's all sorts of clever things you can do with an HVAC system to reduce the footprint, the energy footprint on it, so, yes.
That's very good. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Internet of Things, because that's key. Not only municipal, the way we deliver municipal services, but also the way the consumer is receiving services and taking advantage, and the utilities themselves with load management. You're so right, and you know, I hope that we can think bigger and in broader terms here, and maybe be leaders in maybe leveraging that technology, maybe in ways others haven't thought of yet.
Yeah, and maintenance of the units themselves is very important in maintaining efficiencies. And controllers today can alert you when you know, a compressor is not operating at peak capacity, or you know, a motor is not behaving correctly. All those things amount to increased power consumption. So you know, preventative maintenance is a big thing to reduce the spend.
Thank you.
If you were chosen for this committee, what special skill would you bring to it?
The ability to lead groups of folks. I have a lot of broad experience with managing servers and internet connectivity, dealing with providers, internet service providers specifically, managing storage, finding cheaper ways of doing the same thing, and leveraging new technologies as they come out.
Okay, thank you.
Your, in your work, would you imagine there are broad categories of software or IT items, for lack of a better way to put it, that we're not availing ourselves of, that could profitably be tapped into the town? And if there is something that comes to mind, what would it be? What kind of things?
It's hard to imagine, but I know that a lot of folks want to go on the website to see what's going on. You know, if there's a power outage, for example, if there's a service interruption in the area, specifically Verizon or Comcast or one of those companies has an outage, being able to report that live would be a very nice service to provide to the town. And, you know, just having more current, up-to-date information on the website that changes as things change.
I guess we on that scenario that you just suggested, I think that would involve having the town collect information from those other entities.
And the companies are usually willing to provide it too. You know, if Penn Power has an outage in an area, they broadcast that, and there's data fees you can subscribe to, and you can get the information real time and report it to the customers real time. I think that they would be in support of that because it helps them.
Thank you very much.
Everyone's not calling.
Right.
Yeah.
I have no questions.
Chip, I don't have any questions either. Thank you so much for coming.
You're
in.
welcome.
Very nice to meet you. And we're hoping that we'll, well, we're not hoping, we're going to make the nominations next Monday. We have one more interview today, and then I think 3 next week. So you'll know next week. All right.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, well,
Greg?
Greg, yes.
Schinker?
Schenker is correct.
All right. I'm just gonna tell you the same thing, just because, fair to everybody. And that is that, we have your resume here, and, no, I was gonna say no.
Right.
Just to know.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That I was looking, I was trying to remember, I knew there were two people, and so you're the last one, the other person didn't have the complete resume. So if there's something you would like to add to that, you can do that. And then we'll go around and each council person will ask if they have any questions. Okay, all right.
So I was raised in McCandless. I went to North Allegheny from kindergarten through 12th grade. Moved away for college. I went to Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. Have a Bachelor of Science and Engineering there in polymer engineering. Came back for a few years to go to University of Pittsburgh for a master's degree in information science, specifically security assured information science, or information systems. And I moved away again to work for the U.S. Department of Defense, which is why I don't have a full resume. I haven't updated it in a while, and any change I make to it has to be approved by them before I can release it. So a handful of years with them as a network security analyst, and then I moved back to McCandless, and I became a software engineering contractor for other federal agencies. Right now I'm focusing mostly on information security and building secure and survivable systems. So both secure in terms of nobody who's not authorized to see the information can view it, and also survivable in that if we lose a hard drive, if we lose a server, if we lose a data center, the whole system still functions and hardly anybody notices. I have a certification. I'm a Certified Information Systems Security Professional, CISSP. A handful of other lesser significant security certificates. For the past 15 years, I've also been doing some side consulting businesses, or side consulting work, mostly focusing on small businesses and home users, website development, general IT maintenance, and security type things with that as well. Several years ago, I volunteered for an organization in Sharpsburg called Working Order. They're now defunct. They've since been acquired by another organization called Volunteers of America. I'm no longer affiliated with them. That's good experience there too. So for them, I did some of their IT work and personnel training. Personally, I'm a big fan of green technology. We recently installed a geothermal heat pump at our house, and that's pretty cool. So we replaced our gas furnace with geothermal back in January, and it's been working out well. I also drive an electric car, and we're in the process of getting quotes for solar panels on our house right now. That's background.
Awesome.
Take any questions.
I just wondered, what's it cost to get something for your house? Isn't it fairly costly?
It
And
is.
are there still tax credits
Yes,
available?
there's a 30% tax credit right now.
Okay,
So that helps significantly, but depending on the size of the system, it can get fairly expensive.
what's the range of?
We got quotes anywhere from about $15,000 to $40,000.
Okay. The purpose of the Technology Advisory Committee is to help develop and recommend policies and programs to the town in order to preserve, enhance aspects of the character of the town, and address technological issues in the town. Could the town utilize those systems, or?
Sure, over time I think it could,
Yeah.
especially with solar panels just on the roof right here.
Yeah.
For instance, it seems to be a pretty unobstructed view of the south. So I think the payback on that would be pretty quick, just
Okay.
under 10 years for sure.
They don't pay any taxes, so obviously the tax credit wouldn't do them any good, or
Right.
could they? I think there's some cases where they use an intermediate party.
There's a way that you can assign the tax credit back to the contractor who
Yeah.
installed it. I'm not sure how that all works, since
Yeah.
that doesn't apply to us. I haven't researched that.
Okay,
I know that you can do that with the geothermal system.
and
Sure.
results in a lower cost.
Right, it does,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I hope you could, or any of you guys on the committee could help with that, making everything green here, because that'd be wonderful.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So Craig, when you were at Case Western, you did polymer science. Did that take you down to nano
A little bit.
science a little bit?
Yes.
And I mean, that's a huge technology that's
Absolutely, it is.
coming at us.
Yes.
And resiliency is a very big deal for municipalities. I saw in in our package today. We're looking at adding batteries to several of our signal lights. Something you wouldn't think of as a regular citizen, but think of the
Sure.
impact, the need for resiliency of those lights, those signalizations, to get your electric car home safely, right?
Absolutely,
In
yeah.
the fire. So I love the fact that you just mentioned the geothermal, you're exploring solar panels, and as those technologies become more broadly accepted and interest develops, as a community, we need to think about how we manage that.
Definitely.
So that you're not stealing BTUs from your neighbor.
Right. Especially there would have to be code with how close the
It's-
geothermal wells can be to your neighbor.
Thank you, sir.
That's good.
So that's really important, and I do think that renewable energy is a key technology that we need to be looking at community-wide and beyond. So thank you for your comments. I really
Thank you.
don't have any specific questions for you. You've answered the nanotechnology question. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Since you've been with McCandless for so long, went to school, so on, what would you change in McCandless?
I don't think there's a whole lot I would change. I know over time, as technologies change, McCandless has seemed to have adapted pretty well. We're going to need to adapt to how, with the falling cost of solar, for instance, are you allowed to put it on your entire roof, which would impact the fire services if they needed to vent a roof, for instance. We're going to need new codes and new procedures for all the new technologies coming online, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
As of right now, I don't think it would change anything.
Thank you. We're glad to hear that you're happy with us.
Yes.
Craig, it's fascinating. Did I understand you to have said a few moments ago that in your personal use of geothermal has divorced you from being a gas customer?
We canceled our gas service. We're 100% electric now.
Okay. But the geothermal, I don't know very much about it. But the electricity, what circulates the heat and cold up and down?
Correct. So we have two wells outside of our house. It's a closed system, so the pipe that goes down comes right back up one well. Pipe that goes down comes right back up the other well, and it's filled with an antifreeze solution.
How deep do they go? Is that some?
Both of them are 330 feet.
And
But
you
that's
get-
because of the size of the
You get a
system.
sufficient differential of temperature of 300
Yes.
feet.
Yeah, so in the winter, when we were monitoring the numbers, the water was going in at about 35 degrees and was coming back out at about 45 degrees.
Okay.
And so there's a heat pump in our house with a heat exchanger and the fan unit in there, and that's where we were getting our heat.
Now, is that supplemented in your case, and I don't want to dwell too much on your personal situation, with solar power? Did you say you have solar power?
We don't have it yet, but
You
we're
don't.
we're planning to install solar panels over this year and next year.
You're gonna be the highest tech guy in town of McCandless.
Pretty cool. You should have seen it when they were drilling these wells. There was a big geothermal drilling rig that came out, and the mast stood up 30 feet, and they were drilling. It took them the better part of a day and a half.
What's the, just real quick, what kind of cost numbers, I don't mean the specific numbers, but the cost numbers of moving, of circulating, the circulation is required for such a system? Is that a significant cost?
No, it's not.
No.
No, the system we chose has, everything's scalable, the circulating pump's scalable, the compressor and the heat pump is scalable, so it runs at different speeds, only as much as, it only runs as hard and as fast as it needs to extract the amount of heat that the thermostat detector.
A little bit like a
is
heat
using.
pump, I guess, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
So instead of an air source heat pump, which would be on the side of the house, we have a ground source heat pump, which has the heat exchanger loops in the ground.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
Do you have any ideas about how to motivate? We have a lot of new construction that's going on, and everyone's doing it the same old way with nothing new and nothing green. Any ideas, or have you thought about how to encourage new development or redevelopment to using some of these green technologies?
Money is always the easiest one, whether it's.
Money's always the easiest one. Are there any more? And if you haven't thought about it, that's
I
fine. I
haven't
just
thought about
want,
it,
I
no.
just was curious.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It's a really complex question.
I'm a complex person.
Thank you very much.
so much, we appreciate you coming in,
Appreciate
thank
the
you.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So we have 15 minutes for drinks and bathroom breaks and all that kind of stuff.
We need to move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
I didn't think we had to do that,
You're just
but,
gonna run straight through? Okay, just checking
okay,
before I leave.
yeah. Are we
Before
off?
you leave.
All right,
But it wasn't published anywhere.
we ready to get started?
Is that, real quick, is that a fixed date?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
the meeting,
It
the,
is now.
Yep.
the plan itself was
And
not
that
published.
puts, we have a conflict over there?
It's within the meeting.
It's at the,
Oh, so we're gonna just do the 7 o'clock, or 7:30.
Right. No special time.
right,
All right. Yep, we're on.
yeah, just put my whole
That's gonna be a
packet in the wrong
public hearing,
place.
is that's what they call it.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the agenda review meeting for June 17th, 2019, call to order. The first order of business is to review the recommendation to adopt a resolution for the sewage planning module for the previously approved Greystone plan of lots. This was reviewed by McCandless Town Sanitary Authority and Alcoasand for adequate capacity.
Madam President, this was an item that came in front of staff following the committee meeting last week. This is a normal, standard practice that has to occur in order for the, from a planning standpoint, we're confirming that the town has reviewed the Greystone plan, that the plan conforms to its planning standards, and then we rely on the sanitary authority and Alcoasand to ensure that there's capacity in the system to provide the necessary sewer service to these properties here in Greystone. And for future reference, you'll see more of these come through. Anything that is in the Alcoasand system at this point has to be approved through a planning module. Denny, do you have anything?
That's it. We do have the capacity offset program for I&I, that they have to contribute to that to help take out inflow in the system. We've been doing that for several years.
Any other questions about this? Okay. And will that be as, so that'll be stated as a resolution at the business meeting, and that will be added to our business meeting, which, okay, if there's no comments on that, then we will review the tentative business meeting agenda. The invocation and pledge of allegiance is Councilmember McKim. Then we will review the minutes. We'll adopt a resolution of 2019 series recognizing the 75th anniversary of the People's Volunteer Fire Company. We'll do a public hearing on the ordinance to vacate the property on North Florence. That little moon-shaped section on the northern side of Florence. And then, under Finance and Personnel, we'll approve the checklist, and then review a resolution that recommends the adoption of the, to amend the town's existing master fee resolution governing various town fees and charges. And we had that in our committee meeting, and the changes that were changed were highlighted in there, so you can easily find what those are. Any questions about anything so far about this? It's all pretty much stuff that we've kind of gone over. Then the next 5 items are move to appoint members of the Technology Committee. The first 3 will be 4-year terms, and the last 2 will be 2-year terms. We try to stagger our terms so that we're not turning over everybody at once, to try to keep some uniformity. And I was thinking, since this is a new committee, it's got 5 appointments, that we kind of, just each take turns, have your person that you thought was the best, and, to nominate those, so we can kind of get a nice balanced committee there that everybody likes. Notification that a letter of resignation has been received from Jim Doherty to resignation for the Personnel Committee effective immediately. We'll have to accept that, and then we'll post that the following day for a replacement. Move to approve preliminary and final land development application for the parking lot expansion of Barrel Honda Chevrolet, that wasn't even close, for a parking lot expansion on Perry Highway. Move to approve review a preliminary and final subdivision application for the Walnut Court plan of lots, which is down on Ingomar, right at the Cloverleaf there, and McKnight.
Is that redundant? Move to approve review? Should review be taken on?
Moved, okay. Okay. Move to approve a preliminary and final land development application for a plan for Walnut Court plan of lots. So the one is the subdivision, and then the other is the site plan. Move to approve preliminary and final approval of land development application known as Chase Bank, and that will be at the corner of West Duncan and McKnight. Move to approve a revisited land development plan of Giant Eagle for the construction of the Gecko, previously approved in December based on the revision to traffic plans on Reichhold and Route 19. I thought, December was a long time ago, I thought maybe we could just have a little short review of that. I know there were a couple of changes that happened.
Yeah, the only changes that will occur, the site itself, the size of the buildings, number of pumps, the lighting, all remains as previously approved in December. So the lighting meets all of the requirements, buffer yards meet all of their enhanced requirements. Lighting, if you may recall, the lighting toward the back of the property, the height of the lights was reduced somewhat in order to try to accommodate the residents that are in that area. The exit on Reichhold doesn't change that location. We'll create a plus intersection that will be directly across Reichhold from the Wright Automotive side exit. The only change is being proposed. I think in the original site plans, it showed acquisition of some property on the right side, the right automotive side of Reichhold, I'll say. And the lanes, turning lanes, straight lanes, and everything would be based on that property acquisition. What Giant Eagle has proposed is to utilize some of the remaining right-of-way of Reichhold that was left over from when the town realigned the intersection a number of years ago. And there's just some adjustments in the traffic lanes towards the get-go property as opposed to the right property. So there'll just be a little shift in how the lanes work at that intersection. But the positive in all of this is that there'll actually be from Reichhold traveling on to 19, there will be a right turn lane, a straight through lane, and a left turn lane. So it actually adds capacity not only for Wright and for Get-Go, but also the residents of the town passing through that intersection. How'd I do?
Good, any questions? I needed a little review, that was a while ago.
Well,
there
we
was-
just did it
He
last
did
week.
that
Right, I don't
week.
know how.
Not that part,
Oh.
I meant the December part.
Oh, okay, so,
Thanks, Greg. And there was something about, did we ever come to agreement about a sign or anything, a town
That's
marker?
being-
My next
No.
question.
Yeah, it's being discussed. We're comparing what may be proposed for a town's sign in that location versus what Get-Go's signage will be, because they'll have a low sign, and what we were talking about. And I only threw that idea out as a location for the town sign because it's property that
Would there be
town
room for
controls.
2 signs?
I think there could be, depending on how we
It
do it.
wouldn't look like
And
too
it,
much?
and it may be that we don't want the town sign there. I mean,
Yeah.
as Steve pointed out, it's 1,500 feet into the,
That's what you say, you've
The
been
town.
in McCandless for
Yeah, right, how do you
1,500
like
feet
it?
is what the sign is.
Yeah.
well, isn't it 15 feet?
15, well,
It's
it's
about,
about
I
50
guessed it
15.
about 1,500 feet between the border of McCandless and, I could measure it on the maps, but it's probably pretty
No, I'm
close.
sorry,
I mean, you-
I
I would
was,
say you're
I was,
pretty close.
Yeah.
yeah, is this, okay, so it's that far.
He said, how do you like the snow?
Yeah, it's all the way up at the, it splits right at the parking lot of that new bank they put in, that used to be a gas station. The gas station that they tore out, rebuilt, and then tore out without opening to put a parking lot in.
The, next would be public safety, and that would be adopting a ordinance to prohibit parking on the east side of Valley View Road, including the turnaround at the end of Valley View. And services would be an ordinance amending Article 1590 of the codified ordinances of the town of McCandless. Fire control measures and regulations to define and establish a service fee for false fire alarms at multifamily, commercial, industrial, and institutional properties of the town. Public Works, an ordinance to vacate the property of North Florence Road located at the intersection of the southwest corner of Cambridge Manor plan of lots and the easterly right-of-way of North Florence Road, containing therein an area of 532 feet. That's at the intersection. Move to adopt a resolution requesting permission from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to place a banner across Perry Highway at Perrymont to advertise McCandless Community Day. New business, public comment, adjournment. Any questions about any of that? And then we're gonna add the,
I have one question.
about the sewer planning module that will be added.
My question for the manager, item 2 under Finance and Personnel Committee, should the Services Committee ordinance be adopted prior to the fee schedule, which is largely related to the changes in the fire code fees? Or if they're both done at the same meeting, is that fine? Just a question. I would be fine.
I'm
whatever.
trying to think whether or not, because the, maybe more of a question for Chris, the ordinance will authorize the fee that's being established in the fee schedule.
Okay.
So we could defer that, I mean, or that, I don't know that it.
Chris, what say ye?
I'm just trying to review real quickly. So we're talking about passing an ordinance and seeing if we should do them at the same time to make sure the numbers match up. I don't have the language.
We originally
I don't know.
had drafted a resolution only amending the fee schedule for that
Mhm.
specific item, but because we've added a couple of other fee updates, we put it under finance where it normally would have gone. The better part of valor in my mind would be to simply, we can just change that to fall under new business or have it fall to
Yeah, I think that
the
makes-
services committee so that it actually occurs after the ordinance is adopted and the authorization takes place with that one fee.
That makes sense to me. I think that's an easy resolution to do it under either of those, new business or under
Whatever the council.
whatever council wishes, with the difference being non-existent. So,
It's just a matter of where it's gonna fall on the agenda.
So is it okay how it is, or
Yeah.
do we need to change it?
We would just, I think we would just move the resolution number 2 under finance and personnel.
Okay.
Wherever the council feels more comfortable, either under the services committee section or place it under new business.
Probably more appropriate under new business.
New business.
I'll catch it there, but that's okay.
okay.
It's not gonna change the action that we take.
Right.
just when
Not
we
at all,
take
just
it.
the sequence that, so that
Yeah, have the ordinance in place.
It isn't really new business, though.
No.
okay.
Can we just put it right after the?
Yeah, we can add it to the services.
Can we just put on the services right after
Yeah,
it?
that's fine.
So then we're
I
like
think
in
that
the
makes more
group.
sense.
I agree.
Yeah,
Either
let's
one
do
would
that,
work.
Yeah, they
let's
go
do that.
together, yeah.
Okay.
Put it up, put it away.
We're gonna move it
Under
to
D.
the services.
Yeah.
So it'll be like,
Maybe
there'll be a
three.
2 there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe 1 and a 2, that's all. Okay, any other, anything? I was hoping that we would have our, minority resolution. Is that not gonna make on this business meeting?
We're still in the process of doing some review on that.
Okay, is everybody's all right with the business meeting? And liaisons, boards, commissions, authorities, planning?
The planning commission had a pretty big agenda on June 4th. The barrel thing that you just went over, the parking lot, and the main concern was stormwater management, and they all came together and should be ready for town council's approval. The Walnut Court application for a subdivision and an application for a land development for 27 townhouse units was approved by town council, also conditioned on various matters, including them getting a variance for road access requirement of R3, that R3 requires a road access requirement only from a collector or a arterial road, and the road that they join in is a minor road. So if they have to go before the zoning hearing board, no, they're going to do that. I think the meeting is the 24th, and the zoning hearing board agenda has them on there for the 26th, so they'll do it for a couple of days. But it's conditioned on it. A JP Morgan Chase Bank application for a land development to build a bank at McKnight Road and West Duncan Avenue was also approved. The bank is to be next to the small format hospital that we went through with Highmark. And the June 5th meeting was to go over the implemental comprehensive plan with mostly favorable comments. There was a objection made to converting a portion of Perry Highway going north on Perry Highway from Prescott to Hillview, which is probably about a 4/10 or so, from an R2, which is residential, to RC, which is residential commercial. And so that'll be probably discussed at the public meeting. So actually, you would have certain properties included in Prescott, properties that are in Prescott included that, which is R2, included in the RC designation. That's, the property's up on the top of the hill of Prescott, and they're all homes. And that needs, in my mind, it needs to be resolved. And also, the properties next to CCAC, they're in R2. Is the properties next to CCAC a Ward 4? Are they in your ward?
Yeah,
You
where-
talking about the Oaks?
Where,
Or is-
where those townhouses are.
Not the townhouses, the houses that are on Perry Highway. Are they
You're
on?
talking about the ones that are on Memorial Drive?
No, Memorial Drive's across the street.
I'm not sure, I don't
The-
know where the other.
Not the
There-
old
there's like
sheet
3
side,
houses
Not the old sheet side?
North
No,
of
not
the Oaks.
South of that, north of the Sheets. Like you go,
You
first
got
need-
north of Sheets,
Yeah.
there's no houses, and then you got the CCAC, and then there's the Oaks, and then
some
there's like
houses.
3 houses
Yeah,
on the
red-
left,
red
just
houses.
past there.
Are they in Ward 4?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ward 4 and 5 seem to be affected. So that'll,
Be more to come on that.
more to come on that, yeah. Okay, that takes care of the planning commission.
Is that zoning also, zoning hearing?
The zoning hearing board has the one case, the Bristow 9101
Bistro.
property.
Mhm.
Bistro. Across the street from Cumberland and on Perry Highway. The location of the former restaurant it's currently zoned R2, residential zoning. So the restaurant was a non-conforming use, and the owner property is seeking to tear down the current building, put in a new building about 5,100 square feet. The current building is about 6,000 square feet. The new use would be a small retail center, mixed use, possibly a Pranti's, the bakery outlet with no baking on the premises. An insurance company, Slice Pizza, and Big Shots Bob's. These are the businesses. The owner said they're generating interest. And
Do they already have these tenants?
no, they don't. There's nothing in writing. There's they're just showing interest. And so, but one of the conditions is that for a non-conforming use, going from one non-conforming use, a restaurant, to another non-conforming use, a mixed-use residential, is that there can't be more of an adverse impact on the residential. And that's what they're trying to prove at the zoning hearing board.
Are they not trying to build closer to the property line too? I heard?
6 inches, yeah.
Just 6 inches
Yeah.
closer?
Oh, I thought you meant 6 inches from the property line.
Oh, it's
No.
still close. It's very close.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty
Is
close.
that
It's
gonna
pretty
make
close.
any, 6 inches gonna make any difference?
I don't think that'll make a difference, but if there's more, if
Non-conforming.
there's more traffic,
Right.
definitely coming out of that across from Cumberland,
Cumberland, right.
that'll really make it tough.
But it's a light right there.
Yeah, there's a.
They
Oh,
got,
yeah,
they
there's
got
a-
their own light.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Shouldn't be more traffic. If they got their own light.
He's
they-
just saying more trying to get in and out.
yeah,
I was told that Dunkin' Donuts wanted to go in there.
Dunkin' Donuts.
That had been a rumor for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think that was a rumor.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Greg?
And there's also the Sheets case was going to be on it, and I think it's been taken off. Chris, do you know anything
Yeah.
about that? Yeah, I think that case has been taken off. Judge James denied the hearing
Judge
What-
James quashed the
appeal.
appeal.
Oh, the rehearing before
The
the board.
additional appeal.
The additional appeal in front of the zoning hearing board.
So are they,
They have the ability to appeal Judge James's ruling to Commonwealth Court.
and we don't know if they are going to do
We
that?
don't.
Well, wait a second, they did appeal the Judge James's hearing, I see, what you mean, the quash?
The quash.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah.
Um,
And there's a variance case, again, on the townhouses that we just alluded to in the plan commission.
Right, the
Okay.
little,
The Walnut.
Right.
the little, a bit of road.
Yeah,
Driveway.
the access
Okay.
to road, yeah.
Sanitary authority?
Sanitary Authority, first item on the agenda there to discuss tonight is the review of the recommendation from the authority to adopt the Act 537 sewage facilities special plan study. And tonight we have our general manager from the authority, Dennis Blakely, and also our engineer of record, Eric Tissue, to briefly describe this study and also to answer any questions that the council may have. Joan, would you step up to the microphone here? Do you have a drawing or map?
I have a handout for everybody, so if I can
Yes, please.
just be passing that.
There you go. There you go.
Did you get one?
I guess I'll provide a little background, and then Eric will talk about the engineering design, things like that. For those of you who don't know where the A&B plant is, it's on Arden Drive, which is off of Sample Road, and the plant itself is sort of sandwiched between Sample and Duncan in the valley there. It's a very narrow stretch of land down there. It serves about 300 homes, 350 homes. And like I said, the property is very narrow and doesn't lean to any really expansion or improvements to the facility. Approximately 2 years ago, MTSA diverted 40% of that flow to our new Sample Valley pump station, which is on Ringheisen Road. We would like to transfer the remaining flow to our regional plant, the Pine Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant, and install a pumping station to replace the plant, so the plant would end up being demolished, and we have the facilities there for the pumping station. The benefits of this would be to, first of all, eliminate plant discharge into the unnamed Pine Creek stream, which would help to eliminate future TMDL restrictions on Pine Creek. To eliminate the O&M costs associated with an aging plant. Savings we're looking at is over $1 million compared to what's going to be required at the plant to rehab that. So we're looking at spending money on the pump stations and then converting the flow, but that's going to be less than just the rehab of the plant. And there's, with the regional treatment, there's cost savings associated there. So far, we've secured rights of way through Wildwood Golf Club. So we've met with them and got a plan through there and got that approved. We've negotiated with North Park and have an agreement, but not complete yet, on a right of way through the park, past the swimming pool and then down to our treatment plant. Part of this will be the replacement of our Peoples Pump Station, which is somewhat undersized and old as it is now. It's 45 years old, so it's really reached its lifespan as well. So the whole plan sort of rehabs that whole area and improves the condition of the treatment of the sewage. Both DEP and Allegheny County Health Department have expressed that they're in favor of this project to, first of all, eliminate a plant and then to upgrade our facilities. Maybe one of the important things is MTSA has set aside capital funds for this project, so there's no need or intent to raise rates to finance the project. I guess with that, I'll let Eric go over the design they've come up with.
Dennis pretty much covered almost everything I was going to say. I'll add a little bit. What I did want to do is just print out a few things just to give you an idea where things are and what things are going to look like. So what you have in front of you in the first page is a USGS map to sort of show you the extent of the project. As Dennis said, that A and B pump station upgrade at the bottom of your page there is off of Arden Drive. The pump station for that is on the following pages. Just to give you an idea what the pump station is gonna look like, what the building's gonna look like. It's a block building, it looks like a pump station. And what we'll do is, we'll end up ultimately decommissioning that plant and the existing pump station there. They'll be removed, and what will be left will be this pump station, which is a much smaller footprint. And the pumps there will pump through a force main sewer, a pressure sewer, through the woods and up across Wildwood Country Club, up onto Shady Oak Drive. Shady Oak Drive is gravity sewer, some of that, those sewer lines have to be upside to handle additional flow. That'll be done through an open cut or pipe bursting. And ultimately, that'll flow down to where the existing Peebles pump station is at Presidential Drive and Peebles Road. And as Dennis said, we'll replace that pump station. There'll be a new building. The last couple of pages in here are the Peebles pump station, which looks remarkably like the A and B pump station. So they'll be very similar in what they look like. We'll actually bore underneath a portion of Peebles Drive and Hemlock. We don't want to open cut that for obvious reasons. So we'll bore across there until we get to the other side into the park. And then, as Dennis said, we'll go up through the park past the, what is it?
Yeah.
Up along Pie Trainer Field. Really sort of at the top of the hill, we'll convert back from a force main sewer back to a gravity sewer. And from that point, we'll cross the rest of the top of the hill and down an access road until we get all the way down to the plant. So there's a good bit of sewer line involved here. There's some rights of ways that need to be obtained, as Dennis pointed out. The projected cost of the project is around $4.5 million, $4.4 million, with a relatively large contingency in there because it is a planning study. And until we actually go out for bid, we don't know what the cost will be. But as Dennis pointed out, there's money set aside for that. So that's the overall gist of the project. The necessity of approving this planning study is that because you are the planning body, as you approve the 537 special study for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade at Pine Creek, this is the same process. We'll have to get approval from the town of McCandless in order for the DEP to approve the study, which is a precursor to getting all the permitting done for all the facilities that we're proposing. So with that, any
Thank you so
specific
much.
questions?
Let me ask Counselor the questions.
It doesn't have to go through planning? It just comes from us, it doesn't go through our planning?
If the planning
Commission.
commission, I think that the DEP would like to see if it does have, if there are comments from the planning commission, they would like to see those. We had to submit it to the Allegheny County Health Department too.
Okay.
So if this board needs to refer to the planning commission for those comments, then we should do that.
Do we need to do that? Is that?
I don't know that.
We don't necessarily.
I don't think you did that.
It's not a requirement.
Right.
We have not.
Right, and I don't think you did that with the prior special planning study for the treatment plant upgrade either. So I don't believe it's necessary, but
It's not
I would
necessary,
leave it up to
okay.
this board if they think that that's something they would prefer to do.
Okay, okay.
Just a quick question, just to kind of get oriented on here. Is that A and B pump station upgrade on the lower left-hand corner of the map, is that what is in the area of Swan Acres? Is that what that is?
That's what-
No, that's Longview too.
Okay.
Yeah, this is over, down from Duncan Manor, down Duncan Avenue, back towards that area, going towards
Okay, I understand.
Hampton.
Yeah.
Because some of the sewer line actually has to be constructed in Hampton Township, obviously.
Are there any buildings above ground? Are there buildings above ground for this?
Yeah, the pump station buildings themselves will be above ground. Now, the pump station, pumps actually will sit in a wet well, which will be below ground. But the buildings will house the controls, generator, things like that. So those are above ground. And they have to be above the flood stage, 100-year flood stage for operational purposes, so it's important for them to be above ground.
Well, do any of the surrounding neighbors object to this, or what's?
Well, I think that there really isn't, when you go down to A and B, you're gonna see a lot less down there. You're gonna see that whole treatment plant is gonna be gone, and ultimately left is a
Those
small.
open tanks
Right.
that are down there, they'll be gone.
And that old pump station down there will be gone too. At Peebles, there'll be an extra building. The small building that's there now will remain, and this will be a small building, just a little bit larger than the existing building, but a little bit closer to the road on Peebles.
What's that area zone? Just wondering. I just wondered if it's heavy residential or what?
No, it's very residential.
Right, it is residential.
What
That's
are
the
you gonna
people.
do with the, I understand what Greg's, I see the scowl, I'm feeling his pain there. What, the area where you're taking out the tanks and that's going, what's gonna be there then?
It just gets regraded, if you.
It's
you know,
green space, it's
It
gonna
could be, I think that's something that you need to decide, the authority needs to decide, but the tanks will be removed. If it's something they want to convert to green space, they can do that.
Okay.
The only thing that will remain there besides, we'll build it, there's an existing generator there that we'll continue to use. It'll be housed in a separate area, but that's pretty small. Otherwise, that's all gonna be regraded. It's gonna be relatively flat and can be returned to green space.
So MTSA would do that, return it to green space?
That would be
The
all.
residents wouldn't have to do that.
No, that'll be all part of the project. Yep.
Could we, say that we would like that?
Yes, in fact, there's a 30-day public review comment period, and DEP wants to see comments from the town.
Okay,
So definitely, you can make that comment.
okay.
And
We
and
make
we,
it-
in turn, have to address those comments and then take those back to the authority.
Okay. Is that what we're doing right now, or do we have to write it and send it to you in some formal way?
I think that it would be best if you would have an official response to the plan.
Okay. So, do we just make our comments to you, Bob, and then you're gonna send it to them, or do we need to do it individually, or how do you wanna do that?
Well, there'll be an official notice of the
You
comment period
You can
once
tell
this
us
is
when the 30
submitted
days.
to DEP, correct?
Say that one more time, Bob.
This will be, we would be notified of the official 30-day comment period once this is submitted.
Right, 30-day comment period is underway. I don't know when it is.
The last Wednesday.
So
So
it's
that-
started now.
Okay.
It's already started, so
Okay,
you know,
so
we
we-
can let you know when that comment period is up.
We can prepare a letter for review saying what our preference
We
would be
do
in
want it to
terms
be
of the
green
restoration.
space instead of
Yeah,
paving.
yeah, green space is a nice idea, and I don't know how these buildings, I know this is a $4 million project, and this is the last thing that you're thinking, probably, but I don't know where you see these buildings. I don't know if you see them from the road, I don't know if you see them from people's houses. They're a little bit less than attractive. Is there any kind of greenery or something we can put around them to soften them a little bit?
Yeah, I think at A and B, you're not gonna really see that
Right.
building at
Okay,
all.
okay.
But at Peebles,
Yeah.
yeah, certainly we can,
Can we
there's some
make it a
trees there
little,
now.
can
You
we make it a
plant
little
some trees.
prettier to, you know?
Yeah, I
We
think that
did the Sample Valley Pump Station, we had a planning plan that the town approved, and that's what we followed. Trees and,
Okay.
actually somewhat of a water garden type thing for drainage,
Right,
things like that.
right. That, like, on the list, okay.
And will there be like a notice sent out to the neighbors in the areas that you're working and doing this boring so they know, like, because I've heard other people say, oh, they're working on a street, something's closed, or it's hard to get through, like, will there be communication sent out to the neighbors about your
Typically,
plans?
we
and-
notify the neighbors when the work is
Good.
occurring, especially, obviously, where we have to get easements through properties.
Yeah,
Those people
yeah,
obviously
they'll know,
notify.
but just otherwise,
But
yeah.
I think generally, people are notified.
I think we'd be glad to put
Okay,
that on our
that'd be nice.
Facebook page and on Savvy Citizen and those kind of things to help communicate
That
that
would be very
also.
helpful.
Yeah,
To,
if we just-
to talk,
Yeah, public relations is a big deal when it comes to
Yeah.
projects like this.
exactly, so we can get John on getting that.
I was gonna say, you can either coordinate directly through John or myself
Okay.
on that, Danny.
Those were the suggestions I had. Anyone else about this?
I guess I'd just like to just put a plug in for the staff, because this was actually a very brilliant concept that was developed, not by the engineers, but by staff who knew the topography firsthand, knew the lines, and developed this idea to save all this money and to protect the water quality of that stream, again, lowering the TMDLs significantly. This is just a very, very good project, and yes, we do have an opportunity to restore that land where that old rusty tanks and things are, to get that out of there and regrade it and just bring it back to a green space. So I just appreciate the work that you folks have put into it. I appreciate council's diligence here in reviewing it carefully for us.
And I think if you let the citizens know that you're going to put greenery around
Yeah.
the building, they'll be more accepting and less complaints.
And if council is agreeable, there is a resolution that needs to be adopted in order for them to be able to proceed with their submission.
That's correct.
And that was on our agenda.
That would be planned for the agenda as well.
Very good then.
So that will be included.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Do you have a spare
In addition to that, I'd just like to, just a couple notes from the meeting minutes that were distributed for MTSA. One, I'll point out that MTSA has again been invited by Alcoasand to submit an application for the green revitalization of our waterways, the GROW program, that's cycle 4. You might recall that last year, the authority received nearly $500,000 in reimbursements for work we did in removing extraneous water from the lines to reduce wet weather impact. And also, I'm happy to report that MTSA did receive an alternative fuels incentive grant from the DEP, which will help support the fuel conversion to propane of another of our 5 vehicles. And as they previously mentioned, the work and design for the long-term capacity and process improvements at the Pine Creek plant located in Hampton is ongoing, along with the work with the town on developing a joint fill site agreement. That concludes my report.
And that would come before council before
Absolutely.
that was decided,
Yeah,
okay. Franklin Park Ambulance Authority.
Madam President, the Ambulance Authority did not meet last month, but I do have a brief update. As a result of their strategic planning process that we've been going through, they identified 3 key issues that they put the strategic planning process on hold to undertake. One is they're looking at outsourcing their payroll process. They're looking at new billing software. And also, they are going to undertake a revenue cycle audit. Now, this will be in addition to the normal external annual audit that they do. And I think that is putting a focus where it needs to be on the revenue issues that they've been struggling with over the past few years. Their budget cycle ends the end of June. And so they're nearing the end of their budget cycle. And it looks like they will finish approximately $200,000 in the red this year. As they've been doing historically with the systemic deficit they've been fighting. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report on the Ambulance Authority.
Northland Public Library.
As always, the minutes will be included in the packet, but our meeting for this month will not be until next week.
Okay. North Hills Council of Governments.
We had a meeting last month, nothing new to note, same stuff, cable, talks and, salt and projects we've got going on, but nothing new.
Joint Rec Board.
No meeting.
Okay. MIDA.
No meeting, I have received, we've received correspondence which I've distributed to the committee, and a request for some financial support, and that's really being evaluated.
Okay. Volunteer Firefighter Steering Committee.
Do you wanna give an update? Well, I wasn't there because my computer doesn't work.
Well, as we discussed last week in the Services Committee meeting, we had a very productive steering committee meeting this past month. And I think, again, the highlighting of that, I think, was the coming together of the chiefs and the presidents to consider undertaking a strategic planning exercise. And we'll be, have a specialist there to present to the steering committee at our next meeting.
And we have very good minutes.
They're excellent minutes. I don't want to go into them all,
Right,
but it was very productive.
But we have those. Yeah, I appreciate everyone that supports that submits their reports before the meeting, gives us time to read them and have any questions, be thinking about it ahead of time, and also to get through our meeting in a timely manner, so I appreciate getting those. Anything else on that?
That concludes our report.
Okay. North Pittsburgh Community Development Corporation?
No activity, no notice of activity, no meetings.
Okay. the Heritage Center?
I did go back and let them know what our thoughts were as far as the sign, what our feelings are, and so they are going back to the drawing board and gathering more information, and as soon as I have any, I'll let you know.
Okay. Some nice programs coming out of there. It's on Savvy Citizen as well as our other media sites.
We've had some good response to the second year celebration, and had a nice number of people there, so, in the different programs that we're trying to make sure every month there's at least a program, but we're adding to it as we can gather them.
Would it be fair to say that any citizens watching this or in our community had some ideas or
Oh,
on
most
that,
definitely.
to please, to submit those?
Right, definitely.
Because, we've got some pretty talented people here that might have some great programs that we haven't thought of.
We
and
would be very
please-
grateful for it.
Okay. Community Day Committee?
So Joanne and I both weren't there, but could
I
you
was
give
We
gonna
were
say,
not
I-
able to
yeah,
attend,
I-
I'm sorry,
They did meet
Wednesday.
last Wednesday. Plans are progressing for entertainment, for the vendors. Vendor booths are moving forward. We're getting a constant flow of vendors signing up, as well as sponsors and things. So it appears from, my new perspective, that things are moving in a timely fashion and in a good direction.
And Bev Hoffman and I are going to start next week making phone calls to food trucks to see if we can. And hopefully we're early enough, because I made so many calls last year, and we did get some, but there were a lot of them that said that they were already booked. So,
Did they ever talk about beer and margarita sales?
I brought it up and that was vetoed.
Wow. That was the most common thing that the town wanted when I talked to people.
Can we advertise on our social media also for food trucks, people who are interested in food trucks, as well as anyone who's interested in booths, and what the contact information would be?
Right, we're taking the application. In fact, we do have a number of applicants
Yeah,
already
well,
for the
I was
booth.
just thinking to put it on our
Sure,
social
that's a good
media
idea.
to
Yeah,
encourage
very good.
people
Absolutely.
Yeah, that
in the
would be
town
good.
to know about it, and the contact information and the cost and the
A
stuff.
quick question on the food trucks, in these preliminary discussions, I'm sure have been held, where do you contemplate those trucks being staged?
Well,
In
Mark's
places
the
they always
one
are.
that places, he does the planning of where the booths are and where
But
the
are they
trucks
gonna be in direct competition to the booths up and down
They've always
It's-
been out here in the
no, they're
field.
out in the
Put 'em in the
field.
same
Yeah.
place
Yeah,
every
that's
year.
right.
Yeah, they'd be
Right.
complimentary too.
Yeah.
I think the intent would be that they'll complement
And the booths
anything
don't have
the
food.
booths that-
Yeah.
Other
Some
than
of
the
them
ones-
do.
Some of them
Other
do,
than
yeah.
the ones right here, but I
Yeah.
mean, the ones out there don't.
When you're pointing out there, you mean over by the ball field, that way?
Yeah.
Well, no, out on the tennis
On the
courts
tennis
and that,
courts.
there are
Okay,
always booths
okay,
out
I
there.
got you.
So we never have food
I
out
meant the
there.
food trucks.
Well, like the Five Fools had it, and they're
Right,
closed
right
now,
along the
but,
sidewalk here, right?
right,
Yeah.
right here at the corner of the tennis courts.
The
and
main
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
So, I got several complaints last year about the speakers being too loud and just continuous talking. There were several booths that you could not even, you had to literally hold your ears in the booths, they were so loud. People had earplugs on, they
I
were
think
so
that-
loud.
The intent is putting the stage in the Public Works
Yeah, the stage is gonna be
garage.
inside.
So I think that the whole speaker system and sound system is gonna be different this year than what
Okay, good.
they've had in the
good.
past, so.
Yeah, the stage would be
I
inside
would
the Public
imagine
Works
that
building.
that
But these
would
were
be a
speakers that were on the tennis court.
Oh.
They were just
We can just adjust that.
very loud,
Okay,
Got it.
yeah,
all right.
okay.
And that was when it rained, right? When the weather was
Yes,
so horrible?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Anything else from community?
One year's
days?
running into the next.
So we'll,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
We had 2 rains.
Yeah.
The EAC is adopting highway. The Cloverleaf here of Ingomar and McKnight is gonna be the area that we are going to adopt. We'll have a little sign there. There's also gonna be some articles coming out on our social media on how families and groups and companies can also adopt highway, kind of talk you through the process that we're going through. It's really pretty simple. You get a little sign up there, and then you're responsible for cleaning up that part of the highway twice a year and recording that. So look for that. Our next roadside cleanup is October 19th. We have a recycle art show, which is going to be at the North Hills Art Center, the 5th to the 17th of August. You take your recycled art pieces made from recycled material, the 3rd or 4th to the Art Center. That's on Babcock Boulevard, and you'll see also that coming out in the media. Also, the town was selected for the Green Tree Canopy Inventory, and we are currently deciding what areas of the town, what green spaces we want to be inventoried. That project will be July 15th to the 19th. It's part of the Tree Vitalize PA Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And what they do is they look at the health, the types of trees you have, the health of the trees you have, factors influencing growth, the benefits of the trees. They also give you a actual energy conservation number of what these trees, what the dollars and cents, they break it down. It's really nice. And then plus that makes us part of a national map, or a PA map. I think there's a national map too of where our trees are. They also give us a calculator on stormwater filtration, on air quality, and CO2 removal, and CO2 stored. So it should be, everybody values trees, but I think it's gonna be really cool to go, this tree saved us $57 and so many pounds of CO2 or whatever. So the results of that should be.
That's a cup, not a tree.
It's not a tree, but this was my prop. So, that's what the EAC is doing.
May I ask the question, you talked about having the artwork at Community Day, are you still planning to do that?
We are,
Okay.
we are. And we're also gonna take the top, it will be judged there, and the people who are at the art center will supply the judges. And then the top, depending on how 3 or 5, will also be displayed here, because they have to be stored from then till Community Day.
Right.
So we thought it would be, why stick them in a closet when we can put them out here?
Right.
So they'll be displayed here too.
Okay, and
So,
I did mention that you needed a booth, so that's already in.
Thank you, thank you. And this is not just kids, this is adults too. I'm entering, so. It's a challenge, just throw them down there.
You're on council, though, you can't win a prize.
That's okay. So that, personnel board?
No meeting.
Okay. Our junior council member is on summer break, and we'll be back in the fall.
He actually contacted us and said that he's on a college tour,
Oh,
looking
good
at
for him.
colleges. So,
He contacted you to tell you that?
yes, he did.
That's his report.
I tell you, I am very impressed with that young man.
I agree.
President of Council's report and correspondence. You have a letter before you that I asked our town manager if he didn't mind putting together about House Bill 1400, which is the
It's a
small
single sheet, though, it's not in there.
Small Wireless Facilities Deployment Act.
Looks like town line.
So,
Very down here somewhere.
basically, the summary of this is, ALOM kind of sent these out and
I've actually read it.
sounded the alarm that most municipalities do not support this House bill because it takes a lot of the control of these out of the community. So it changes, we can't say where they are, we can't say the fees that are set for them, so we really do lose a lot of control, which we kind of like being able to say how things are in our part of the Commonwealth. So if this is pretty straightforward, Bob just restated a lot of the facts, and the back just says we oppose it, and we were going to email this, weren't we gonna email this?
We're
So
gonna email it.
we gotta get it to
tomorrow
him
morning.
kinda quick because, it's kinda going through fast. So what do you guys think about this letter?
Good with me.
We just need a
Fine.
nod, we don't have to have a vote.
It's good.
No, I think it's fine. This, by the way, certain members on the committee have tried to put it through in the past,
Right.
a number of times.
Right.
It's never seen the light of day. Hopefully, we'll be in the same scenario here again, where I don't think it has broad support.
Good, good. Well, I just thought we could kind of throw our 2 cents in, if that's okay. Is everybody okay with this? All right, so maybe we can send to everybody, okay? All right. Town managers report?
You all received a copy of the manager's report in your folders over the weekend. I just wanted to highlight a couple of quick things. We are waiting on an amended agreement and final invoice from PennDOT regarding the Pine Creek bridge improvements. And then we will be able to close that project out. A couple of areas that we're excited about. Andy Banfield from PVE was approached by a developer who actually lives in McCandless, who's being required by DEP to undertake a mitigation project as a result of work that they're doing in the West Hills. And he asked Andy if there were any projects that could be undertaken in McCandless that would meet those DEP requirements that he's faced with while benefiting the town. And Andy spoke with him. Andy also spoke with staff regarding doing the proposed work in Wall Park, stream bank restoration work in Wall Park, as well as potentially some stream bank restoration here along Pine Creek and the town property. We're trying to focus on town-owned property to make it easier, but this would all be done at the cost of the developer, and it would save the town some substantial money in restoration costs while allowing us to comply with our MS4 requirements and our PRP requirements in that permit. So we're working on that, and we're hopeful that we can move those projects forward to mutual benefit of the developer and the town. A couple of grants that we're looking at trying to apply for. One is a Arley grant application that's due at the end of July. Staff is working with Trans Associates on 2 applications, one of which Bill mentioned earlier with the battery backups of several key intersections, so that should the power go out in those intersections, the lighting would continue to operate in those intersections. The other is an upgrade or an update of signals, Thompson Run Road, Hazlitt Road, and Red Coach, which is currently the oldest light
That's
that we have.
fascinating, I saw that.
So, we're working on those applications, and the other, although it's, there's another upcoming deadline if council's okay with it, we would be looking at potential multimodal grant application with Gateway on various missing segments of sidewalk that would allow us to make some connections that we haven't been able to fund otherwise. So it would just be a matter of submitting the application and seeing where we go with it. So if you have any questions on the remainder of the report, feel free to touch base with me.
Any questions on the manager's report? Town attorney report?
Our report was distributed, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but nothing to add at this time.
Any questions from any citizens or comments?
Excuse me.
My name's Mark Donatelli, and I live up on, right off of Powers, Griffith. And we were talking about this new plant. And what's this gonna cost the taxpayers on McCandless? They're gonna have to raise the rates up. How much are they gonna raise these rates up? If this plant's gonna cost $40 million or more, we're gonna have a cost overrun, we know this. It's gotta be, it's gonna be more than 40 million. Now, Councilman Kirk, could you tell me how much the rates are gonna go up? You have an idea what you're gonna base it on? Or storage? Somebody has to pay for this. We don't have nothing yet.
At this time, we're taking public comment. I don't believe this is to be
Okay.
debate, but I'll be glad to meet with you after the meeting.
Yeah, okay,
Sure.
that's fine, sure. And another thing I like to bring up is there's a research doctor over in Children's Hospital is doing research on asthma. And they noticed 5 years ago, asthma rates were starting to come down. But now they're starting to come up in the northern corridor. Something's going on. Now, they were trying to get some money out of Allegheny Council, but they don't want to give up too much right now. But we have to start looking into our air pollution in this area. And we have a lot of traffic, more traffic that's coming up and up. So that could be the problem. Another problem I always bring up is, are they going to drill for natural gas under North Park Lake? They got the pad already set up. It's just, when is this going to take place? Because this could have a big effect on a lot of things here. And, well, I guess that's about it then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Any other comment?
Madam President, I did neglect one very important item. I
Okay.
wanted to just note that Tricia Greathouse, our new Assistant Manager and Finance Director, was present. And forgive me for not mentioning that during my initial report. But she started today, and we're thrilled to have her.
Welcome. We are thrilled to have you. Thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn the agenda review meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, just all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We're out.